but also for the security of Europe. And we are very grateful, all of us. We have 70 volunteers here today that give 1 week of their vacation to be here. We have 500 people who, in a crowdfunding, within, I think it was 48 hours, sponsored 80% of the budget for here. And we rather do that like that than to ask a few companies for a lot of money, because to stand here and to feel we have 500 people that really donated to be part of this, so we could have these events here, I think that's really strong. But their money will also stop, because that's also donations. So, Lilia, how can we take this from being aid to strategic cooperation so that we can improve and help Ukraine to become a country that they are really fighting for? There are few countries and few people in Europe who have, recently, since after the Second World War, given their blood, given their lives, and giving them a generation that really has to suffer a lot, I mean, many generations. Your people, they die for our freedom. And you are worth more than just aid. You're worth strategic partnership for the future. So, with those words, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Sven, and thank you for giving such a platform and bringing together all the people in order to discuss the support of Ukraine. As I told before, usually it's Ukrainian who are gathering the people and making the demonstrations and making also the all the panels for support of Ukraine. Here I'm really very glad to have Sven, who is bringing together the different organizations in order to support Ukraine and in order to keep Ukraine high on the agenda. The same as also in your parliament, the Fredrik Malm, who is gathering the delegations and also the people demonstration in front of the parliament. And
I appreciate you bringing that up, because we don't only bring people together here. This afternoon, you have your chance. We have 10 ambassadors coming here. We have Canada, France, we have Norway, Denmark, Finland, Estonia, Lithuania, the Netherlands. Did I say Germany? Yes, Poland, and hopefully France, not to be confirmed. And they all here, to speak about their support to Ukraine. So ask them, is it aid you're doing, or is it strategic cooperation? So we are really trying to make a platform here for Ukraine.
yeah. Thank you. And a little bit like in 1 minute's time, we will see how we are doing this in Ukraine and how we are explaining it to the partner, because in 1 minute we will see the film about how we do see the strategic partnership and how do we start it in Ukraine, exploring the Alma-Dalensveka, Arendalsuke. We have also launched our Ukrainian Alma-Dalensveka in Ukraine under the fire, because in this panel we will concentrate how to this shift from aid to partnership, a shift that is not only timely, but the shift that is very crucial at this point of time. And Ukraine is moving from the survival to strategic resilience. And all of us have to think how we should be on the way to it. Especially taking into account that Ukraine is moving towards EU, there is a lot of things that we have to do together on our way here. And as we speak, we are building our European future under the fire and also doing everything possible for the army, for the civilians that are at the front line, especially at the frontline cities. One of the cities we are having today also at our panel, the mayor of Konotop, the city in Sumy region that are very near Kursk. So I suppose a lot of people know where is it. Also, we have at our panel today the representatives from different organizations, Swedish organization and Ukrainian one. So that's why today we're bringing together, because it's only with Ukraine. We don't have to speak about Ukraine without Ukraine. So that's why this is very important to have today with us. Also the Serhiy Panasenko, Director of Programs Ukrainian Red Cross, and Clara Lindström, who is the Center for East European Center for European Studies in the Utökad Institutet, and Annika Blackstad-Otterstedt is the Director of the department in SIDA. Thank you for being today with us. And now we will see, as we are here at Alma-Dalensveka, so now we see a little bit about Ukrainian Alma-Dalensveka, film that we have now on the screen.
Демократичний тиждень Карпатського моря є аналогом демократичних фестивалів у всіх країнах Північної Європи та Балтії, які демонструють ефективність об'єднання суспільства для розвитку національного добробуту та діалогу, спрямований на посилення співпраці між Україною та країнами-партнерами на рівні органів влади, мерів, громадського сектору, правозахисників, політиків, парламентарів, юристів, економістів, митців, журналістів, лікарів, волонтерів, активних громадян у абсолютно всіх сферах – від політики, регіональної співпраці, економіки, безпеки, енергетики, креативних індустрій, соцсектору, медицини, культури для обговорення шляхів консолідації зусиль для наближення перемоги України.
Contribution to make our efforts together more possible in the world.
The opening of the very first Carpathian Sea Democracy Week, a historical day for discussion, dialogue and partnership to support Ukraine's democracy. During this week, you are arming yourself with ideas, solutions and partnerships, preparing for a peaceful and democratic future after the war.
Let's download the victory together.
I look forward to the Carpathian Sea Democratic Week. It's the place where everyone has to be, whether from business, government, civil society or academia.
Back to Iceland because today they are voting and they are preparing the Ukraine package support.
For a 5-year guarantee for support for Ukraine.
Шановні друзі, запрошую вас до Трускавця, міста, яке цього року стає центром важливих міжнародних дискусій.
Новий унікальний формат в Україні, коли кожна організація може організувати власну панель з власними спікерами і порядком денним. ДТКМ є кульмінацією роботи команди за рік як демократичної платформи, що сприяє розвитку євроінтеграції, ефективній співпраці між громадським, політичним, культурним, освітнім секторами, бізнесом між Україною та країнами Європи. Вдячні нашим спікерам 2024 року, заступнику голови Верховної Ради України, президенту парламенту Норвегії, президентці Нордичної Ради, президенту Балтійської асамблеї, міністерці культури Латвії, міністру податкової політики Данії, засновнику Арендальсуке та багатьом іншим. ДТКМ – практична платформа для рішень, дій і синергії між громадами, експертами та міжнародними партнерами. У час війни і перебудови країни саме згуртованість, адвокація інтересів України за кордоном відіграє ключову роль у посиленні підтримки України міжнародними партнерами, що в свою чергу наближає нашу перемогу.
During Ukrainian Almadalens Week, we could make with Iceland. Before that, I had the conversation with the Prime Minister of Iceland, and we could make long strategy aid package for 5 years, and it was announced and voted just like under the discussion of the member of the parliament who was responsible for this 5-year strategy, as well as it was a lot of discussions, and we had also the declarations for support of Ukraine, EU integration and NATO membership that was also sent to different organizations. It was also a lot of the memorandum that were signed between the municipalities, and also we had with us Johan Lilja, the director of the International Center for Local Democracy, that we have launched also very strategic long-term partnership. And it was hundreds more partnerships that were established during these 2 years. So this is our way how we proceeded, and we do hope that you will join us on the next Carpathian Democracy Week on the 27th of April, 2nd of May 2026, that we already have announced. And Sweden for us has been for a very long run, not only a donor, but a strategic partner that we are building the relationship with. And here today, we would like also to concentrate how we can make this partnership even more effective. And as SIDA is also the reform-driven partner for Ukraine. So I would like also to hear also your view, because we will have today Ukrainian municipalities, civil society, international actors. So we have really to move from short-term partnership, from just one project, just to long-term. How could you describe it? How do you see it, this partnership that could be?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. I think that what is important in situations such as the one Ukraine is in is to think, as you said, short-term and long-term at the same time, and to ensure that apart from, as we heard, the grants and the support that is given to a country and to its people, you also need to ensure that there will be forthcoming investments. And I think the investments that, you need, which ones you need because you live there. So as you said, I think the most important part here is the partnership idea. And to ensure development effectiveness in that partnership, it is important to think of every support from the humanitarian, short-term, life-saving support to the long-term strategic investments that are needed. And SIDA, the Swedish International Development Corporation, is working with many tools to ensure that, for example, initiatives by small enterprises or women's cooperatives or farmers associations or even municipalities can attract capital by decreasing the risk. So I think on one hand, SIDA can work with decreasing the risk in many ways by strengthening the capacities of institutions, strengthening or supporting training, vocational training or education, but also strengthening the financial system in order to attract foreign capital to come to Ukraine and invest there. We also have the guarantee instrument, which is also a sort of, it's ensuring, it's SIDA, Sweden, ensuring a loan by guaranteeing part of the risk that the government of Ukraine or the municipality or any other actor is taking. So the guarantee instrument is very good in a way that it can be used in any sector, short or long term, but it's supposed to decrease the risk of the investor. But it is also used to, for example, spreading opportunities amongst local groups which would not be able to invest if they would not have that, the bank would not have the guarantee from another institution or another country because the risks would be too high, especially in a country which is at war. So the guarantee instrument is important. The grants are still important, I think, to support in many ways the partnership and the exchange of ideas and the perhaps introduction of new innovations and technology that are to be found in Ukraine, but perhaps there is a need for some support to enable them to grow and to be used by municipalities or even the private sector. And of course, what we can also do through the partnership is using the multilateral system together, the World Bank and the UN, and of course the EU, not the least, to ensure that we as Sweden, we work together with other members of the European community to ensure that we can do large-scale investments using more funds and decreasing the risks at the larger scale for the benefit of the people of Ukraine. But it can never be done, of course, without the Ukrainian people. So that is, I completely agree with you. The partnership needs to rely on, I think, a threefold cooperation between civil societies on both, different countries, people in different countries, municipalities in different countries, but also the governments, of course, and the private sector. So I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really guarantee instrument is a very important tool to ensure not only the emergency support that SIDA is providing, but also the long-term partnership. But it would be interesting to hear from that point of view also the answer from those where we are directed this help, so from the people. So now we have today also with us the mayor of Konotop, who I would like to also to give the view and the response to what it was heard, so how it's seen from the local perspective.
Перш за все, тут можна без перекладу. Хочу подякувати нашим польським братам. Тут переклад не потрібен, я думаю, розумію. Bardzo dziękuję за те, що і зараз присутні, і за те, що допомагаєте Україні. І хочу сказати тут так, якщо правильно сказав, правильно, такі організації, як SIDA, за те, що ви взагалі, як мінімум, існуєте, і те, що ви творите дива.
Certain parts didn't need translation. It was dziękuję bardzo to Polish partners and thanks to Swedish partners as well, because thanks to you, thanks for your existence and thanks to your work, we have like opportunity to see wonderful things happening.
Так, дуже дякую вам. Окрім того, що Україна потребує, звичайно, дуже серйозної військової підтримки, це аксіома, це про це навіть можна не говорити зараз, тому що SIDA – це не мілітарна організація.
We don't need to talk about the military support which Ukraine needs right now, because it's something which is a priority number one for us.
Я хочу сказати, що чому я кажу, що ви творите дива. Тому що українська армія без українського народу, без українців, вона би довго не протрималася би, і її вже би не було би, якщо би не громада всієї нашої держави.
And why I want to explain or tell that you are making miracles for us, because Ukrainian army would not be possible without Ukrainian people.
Головна підтримка української армії йде від українського народу, від українців. А для того, щоб українці могли допомагати своїй армії, і для того, щоб українці не дарма зараз віддавали свої життя.
And the main support to the army comes from Ukrainian people, and in order to make sure that Ukrainian people are not sacrificing their lives without any purposes.
Для того, щоб наші діти, в першу чергу, наші діти могли жити, щоб вони не були вбитими, для того, щоб вони мали захист, мали моральну підтримку.
And to make sure that our children have protection and have support, and especially mental support.
Ви і творите дива, за що ми вам дуже дякуємо.
And that's what I want to say, that you are making miracles by supporting Ukrainian people, and I would like to say thank you for that.
Я зараз скажу кілька речей, на яких, на мою думку, я, повірте, можу сказати від імені муніципалітетів, які знаходяться, зокрема, прифронтових, що є найнеобхіднішим, що є найважливішим, найпріоритетнішим.
Now I will say my opinion, but I believe that many of my colleagues, especially municipalities which are located close to the border, will relate to.
Це, звичайно, укриття. Це ремонти в укриттях, не тільки в навчальних закладах, а і, наприклад, якщо є багатоповерхівка і є можливість його обладнати належним чином, то це було б прекрасно і це було б дуже суперово.
First of all, it's shelters, and shelters not only in the schools and other educational institutions, but also in the housing where people are living, renovating those shelters and making it possible for people to use them for their protection.
До прикладу, у нас є лікарня центральна районна, госпіталь, який обслуговує кілька громад, грубо кажучи, розрахований на 150 тисяч чоловік населення. Але у нас там немає фінансового ресурсу, щоб зробити укриття. Воно в катастрофічному стані. Нам дуже потрібен ресурс для того, щоб зробити укриття і операційні зали безпосередньо в цьому укритті.
For example, we have a hospital which serves for several communities, and approximately 150,000 people are using that hospital, and we don't have financial opportunities to renovate and make shelter there. And it's not only shelter for civil people, but also shelter with a room which could be used for making operations there as well.
Альтернативна енергетика, автономні джерела енергетики для забезпечення водопостачання і водовідведення. У нас є цілий ряд готових уже проєктів, які потребують фінансування для того, щоб зробити доступним ту ж саму воду для мешканців нашого міста. Ну, це стосується всіх громад. Зокрема, для мешканців нашого міста під час важких блекаутів.
And then electricity, which is alternative sources of energy, which is very important for providing water to those shelter rooms and those operations rooms. We have already projects which could be used for providing those alternative sources, but we don't have enough financial support for conducting those projects and making the reality out of them.
Центр надання адміністративних послуг, куди звертаються абсолютно всі мешканці нашої громади і сусідніх громад. На превеликий жаль, він у нас належним чином не облаштований, у нас немає на це фінансового ресурсу для того, щоб люди з обмеженими можливостями, з особливими потребами, це люди, які отримували важкі травми після прильотів, після бойових дій, щоб вони могли туди потрапити, отримати належним чином, ну, скажімо так, комфортно послугу. І
and then we have the Center for Administrative Services, which is not adapted or adjusted to needs of certain groups. I meant groups which need support handicapped groups, and that center can be more inclusive as well.
У нас є імпровізований центр для оперативного прийому вимушених переселенців. На превеликий жаль, він потребує серйозного капітального ремонту і належного облаштування, тому що люди...
Then we have the Center for Refugees, and then center needs renovation as well.
Тому що люди, коли потрапляють туди, у них там прилетіло щось в їхню домівку, чи там підсувається лінія фронту, йдуть постійні обстріли, і вони потрапляють в цей центр наш, і не можуть елементарно сходити до нормального душу, чи скористатися нормально пральною машинкою, ну це дуже критично і дуже важко.
That center is mainly used by people who been forced to move out from their houses, and I think it's unacceptable to have that center without basic needs like showers and washing machines.
І це мова йде про центр, де люди перебувають там від 6 годин до 3 діб, тобто короткотермінове.
And on average, people are there from 6 hours to several days, which means that those basic needs are very important, and we need to have them in place.
І дуже важливе питання, на яке, на превеликий жаль, мало хто зараз звертає уваги, але, на мою думку, воно є стратегічним.
And one more question, which didn't get enough attention, but I think it's a very strategic one.
Це транспорт. Це транспорт. Тому що коли зараз ось ми відпрацьовуємо питання евакуації людей, критично не вистачає транспорту. Це мова йде про міські автобуси, муніципальні автобуси, які можуть кожен день функціонувати як транспорт, а потім вони за необхідності мобілізуються для того, щоб евакуювати людей, велику кількість. У нас велика потреба в цьому транспорті. Можливо, я б зараз би, окрім укриттів, звичайно, і лікарні, поставив би транспорт на номер 1 місце. Тому що ми це проходили...
It's transportation, and we are talking about transportation which could be used for evacuation. Transportation which first buses, of course, which could be used as public transportation first, and then in case of emergency we can use it for evacuations. So I would say that the priority, other priorities like shelters and hospitals and transportation could be put as a priority, like they are equal.
Ми проходили цю ситуацію у 22-му році, я розумію, що час мені треба завершувати. Ми проходили цю ситуацію у 22-му році, коли частину наших автобусів мобілізували до війська, і нам просто нічим було вивозити людей. Просто нічим.
We had this situation in 2022 when the buses, our buses were taken to the military and we didn't have any transportation for evacuating our own population.
Тому я би дуже вас просив би на це пріоритетні такі питання звернути увагу. Якщо взяти більш стратегічне, трошки далекоглядніше, то я би заакцентував увагу на двох речах, завершуючи. Це те, що ми дивимося все одно в майбутнє, ми дивимося все одно, що ми розуміємо, що ми переможемо. І у нас є готовий проєкт з будівництва полігону і з повною переробкою відходів, вартість 27 мільйонів євро, і повністю готовий новий проєкт на будівництво реконструкцію очисних споруд вартістю 12,5 мільйонів євро. І, звичайно, дуже потрібно, і ось тут написано, ви просто прочитаєте і переклад зробите. Ось. І дуже сильно потребуємо фінансування будівництва нового житла для вимушених переселенців. Нове житло. Це дуже потрібна річ.
Yes, those three points are like crucial now and very important, and then we have strategic ones as well. One of them, for example, is a recycling station, which costs 27 million euros, and we have the project for that right now. It's a financial support which is needed from partners, and of course, housing for refugees as well is very needed. Is needed now, and it costs 600,000 euro.
Звичайно, комунальна техніка, екскаватори і тому подібне, які використовуються для цивільного життя і для оборони. І хочу сказати вам іще раз велике студ так за допомогу, за те, що ви робите. Ви неймовірні.
You are incredible. Thank you so much. And of course, we need machines for like providing providing day-to-day activities for our communities.
Thank you, Artem, for for the local perspective of how we can empower the municipalities best, and not only to survive, but to lead the transformation. And I would like now give the floor to the Ukrainian Red Cross, who is a key in addressing the urgent needs. So how do you balance the humanitarian work with a long-term strategy and with building long-term systems? And how can, for example, SIDA support you in this to make this really big impact? And what does and also community resilience look like on place? Because you are based in Ukraine, so it will be very interesting to hear your point of view.
Thank you. Actually, that's a big question, an interesting one. So first of all, we have two strategic pillars. One is emergency response, second is recovery. That's why luckily we don't have an option but to balance. And I'm not going to talk a lot about emergency response because obviously we are involved in evacuation, in providing life-saving assistance. That's obvious. But also, both in Ukrainian Red Cross and nationwide and globally wide, we're having discussions about recovery. Because recovery conference will happen next month, I guess in Brussels. And for me it is important to keep in mind that yes, now we have a war and survival is our primary goal. But still, I want us to have this broader vision on future country, because we stand for our future, and I expect our future to be amazing. But the exact shape of it is to be shaped by us, by Ukrainians, but also jointly with our friends and colleagues. And that's why what we are trying to do is to think about recovery, not only about physical process like repairing hospitals, although it's needed, but mostly about bringing innovations and centering recovery around human, because obviously community and municipalities know pretty well what's best for them, and they know if they need to adjust something, or it's better to build from the scratch, to be accessible, to be friendly, if I'm talking about the environment, and to be inspiring and refreshing. Because I know that Sweden is a champion in shaping environment in a way that it's a nice place to be. If you take a look around, that's an extremely nice place. And it's not a coincidence. That's why I truly believe that, again, Sweden can bring this perspective and bring own experience on how to build better. Not to rebuild only, but also how to build better. And it goes for physical level, of course. But it also goes for rehabilitation at personal level, about physical and psychosocial. Because definitely, if you want to see economy blooming, we definitely need people who are creative, who are talented, who are motivated. And we have those people. Ukraine is full of amazing people who create something new from the very scratch, in a way that Swedish entrepreneurs doing the same. I heard yesterday that there are a lot of startups. I mean, big one is Spotify, and well known, but I'm sure we have a lot of innovative businesses which are not well known to me, because I'm not a tech guy at the moment. But I'm sure that if you will find a way to utilize Ukrainian creativity with Sweden know-how on making it work, I guess it will be a perfect mix. And talking about cooperation, we luckily work with SIDA. And of course, most of our activities, they bring some innovation. It's the case for Swedish Red Cross as well. When we're trying to do something, we're carefully aligning it with high-level and broad vision. For example, now we're involved in initiative which is for incubators, hackathons, some learning for entrepreneurs, and about whole innovations. And it is quite successful because we have enough people to support, and we see that they are growing as entrepreneurs. And our focus is to support businesses which bring some social good, which makes world a better place. And I guess we should move forward in this direction by trying to recover the country, but do it in the best manner possible. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a very interesting aspect how to transition from the crisis mode to this long-term stability and also to this systemic impact. Ukraine is now on the way to EU, and here it's very important to have the institutionalization and also the reform. And here I would like also to bring what lessons can Sweden learn, Sweden and the EU draw from the Ukraine's ability to govern under attack. And also, where does Ukraine, like for example, how we can make sure that reconstruction supports, not substitutes democratic development, and how we should go further and together in order to support Ukraine's reconstruction and also to support the integration into EU.
Thank you. Let's see if perfect. So yes, thank you. My name is Clara, and I work as an analyst at the Stockholm Center for Eastern European Studies, with a special focus on Ukraine's EU integration and accession. So thank you for bringing the EU into this. По-перше, я хочу подякувати українською вам за те, що ви прийшли сюди, щоб поділитися своїми враженнями, і за те, що ви захищаєте Європу і наші спільні цінності. Тобто, дякую. I would like to pick up on one of the things that was mentioned in the beginning of how to switch aid to partnership, because EU integration is actually one of the concrete ways of how this is done in practice. Gaining access to the EU's internal market, for example, will bring huge economic benefits to the EU, but of course also to Ukraine. One such example is that Ukraine will join the Roam Like Home initiative from 1st of January 2026. So free roaming in the EU, as we know, but now Ukraine will be part of that as well. And also trade and free movement of goods and people. Those are also important ways of changing aid into partnership. And on that note, one more skeptical reflection or an unfortunate development is the reintroduction on tariffs in some sectors that we saw in the beginning of June. So before, having had no tariffs, some tariffs, especially on agricultural goods, were reintroduced. This is mostly due to a strong agricultural lobby in some EU member states. But this is very unfortunate, not only for the concrete economic implications for Ukrainian farmers and entrepreneurs, but also the signals that it sends out. If the EU is serious about bringing Ukraine into the internal market, but at the same time reintroducing tariffs against Ukraine, it sends very double messages. Then maybe some more thoughts on institutional transformation, as you mentioned that in your question, Lilia. Ukraine has done an impressive work when it comes to drafting laws and doing its homework for moving ahead in the EU accession process. And sometimes we forget that EU enlargement and EU integration is really about building rule of law, building independent institutions, functioning judiciary systems, and so forth. So it's very impressive that Ukraine is able to do this whilst defending itself in an existential war. That said, drafting laws and putting them on paper in Kiev is one thing, but the next stage, which Ukraine is now entering to a large extent, is the implementation phase. So for all these new reforms and laws to actually be implemented and realized in practice. And those things are happening at the local level, in oblasts, in municipalities, among civil servants and politicians at much lower level. So that will of course be a challenge, but where I think focus should really be both among international partners that are supporting Ukraine on its EU integration track, and also among Ukrainians to really feel that everyone is included on the path for EU integration, so that it's not just an elite project that only happens in Kiev. It really has to have a whole of society approach. Yeah, I think I'll stop there, and then we can continue the discussion.
Thank you, Clara. It's very important. We could not bring EU on the agenda because we are on the way on the EU. So we would like not only share with Sweden the colors of our flag, but also the membership in the EU, and also the same as you have entered quite recently NATO. So it's also we are on the way to it. So we have to go through all the transformation in order to become the members of the European Union and NATO. And having said that, I would like also, as SIDA is like our strategic partner that is helping a lot of organizations in Ukraine. And yesterday we had the discussion with the general director of SIDA, how we should move forward and what we could recommend to concentrate more. So I would like you, if you could reflect on it, and especially how, for example, SIDA can help municipalities on their way to more sustainable future.
Thank you. Well, I think there are many ways that we could work together, and one of the ideas that we have now is, of course, trying to strengthen the institutional cooperation between the two countries. For example, through the, within the health sector, the energy sector, it could also be within agriculture, linked to certain specific subsectors. And I think what that is, what that means is that you, at the same time as you create the partnership between two countries and linking Ukraine more to other also institutions in the EU, Sweden will learn, alongside with Ukraine, how do we work with increasing the capacity of institutions in vulnerable countries or regions, which could also then be applied through the Swedish and the EU development cooperation in other parts of the world, where I'm sure that Ukraine will play a very major role in the future. But it could also allow for more, if you strengthen the institutions and the institutional capacity within specific, strategic sectors such as energy and health, you will also promote private investors to come in, because you have an assurance of that there is general plan of the country, and hopefully also at the regional and the municipality level, to ensure that the investments will be long-term and strategic. And I think that is the prerequisite for the private sector, but also the banks. I mean, we have many regional banks in Europe that could then support investments by decreasing the risk, as we said before. It could be at the higher level with guarantees, but it could also be with microcredits to specific cooperatives or specific initiatives which are more, based upon perhaps private individuals or private individuals working together in groups, such as women's or cooperatives within the agricultural sector. So I think using the tools that we do have, and that I'm sure that you are aware of, the financial tools, using the strategic partnership in the dialogue, but also ensuring that we, as you said, some of you, we don't only invest now in the infrastructure, but we also think about the democratic development, the inclusivity perspective, the gender perspective, and also the environment and climate change sustainability perspective. Because, as you said, by building back, we just don't build back in the same way, we rebuild in a better way. So we start from another level, and I think that is the opportunity that any country or municipality has. When you need to rebuild, reconstruct, you can use all the knowledge and all the sustainability ideas, all the innovations that exist now. You can make use of those ideas, the financial mechanisms, but also, as you said, you pointed out that people also need to have, a beautiful environment. People need architecture. People need to like the way they live and appreciate the country that they live in. So it's also, we have to link it to culture, literature, journalism, to create a free and open media. And I think that is what creates a sustainable society, by creating mechanisms, financial, but as well democratic institutions, to ensure that as many people as possible can take part in their own development and contributing to the EU acquis, as you said, and also to other international partnerships. But of course you need funding, but you need funding which is linked to the ideas that exist in your country at all different levels, but using technology in the innovative capacity that you have in Ukraine, which I also heard yesterday. I was so surprised hearing that there is so much innovations going on in Ukraine now. And so perhaps there is also the opportunity of bringing that part back to Sweden and other countries in Europe, even though you have a crisis in Ukraine. Perhaps we can start, that partnership and that exchanging of ideas could go on, as well as you do the rebuilding in your country. We can start working even more together, and so that Sweden and other EU countries can learn from Ukraine and strengthen your innovative capacity. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. And hopefully the Ukrainian municipalities will have a possibility to apply together with the Swedish municipalities for funding in order to have the common projects and to have the exchange of experience that is such a great importance, not only for Ukrainian municipalities and for Ukraine, but also for Sweden and Swedish municipalities. We have yesterday had a possibility that so many Swedish municipalities are interested how to govern under the war. So yesterday in the evening, we have the exchange of experience in ISLD that we will have also tomorrow at 1 o'clock in ISLD office in Donnersplatz, where you can also hear how to govern under the attack, and also why the partnership is so important, not only for Ukrainian municipalities, but also for the Swedish one. And we are really grateful, as I said before, for Sweden as not only as a donor, but but as our strategic partner and also the leader of our reform-driven leader. And having said that, I would like also to stress that we have to continue this partnership, not only here in Visby. We have to continue it also in Truskavets on the 27th of April, 1st of May, and every year, and also in every town of Ukraine and Sweden, and also in every ministry in Kiev and in Stockholm. So, because only stronger we can be together, and only thus we can bring our victory closer, not only on the national level, but also on the local level. And also as a member of the future member of the EU and NATO, together with Sweden, we can develop further partnership in order to also that Sweden and Ukraine can benefit from. Thank you for all the panelists, and thank you Sven and Ukrainska Haben for giving this wonderful opportunity, because only together we can be stronger. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for being here. I'd like to do some announcements. That this afternoon we have 10 ambassadors coming here between 3 and 5:30. They're ambassadors from Canada.